Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Fight Chat Friday from TKD Coach Academy. We're going to have a look this week at another team sparring match, this time between Kira Fitzsimons from Ireland and Tara Barada from Slovenia. And this one happened at the most recent ITF World Championships in Finland. This was a quarterfinal in the senior female team sparring. And it brings up some very, very interesting stuff in relation to a front leg battle and a left versus right battle. So let's jump right into the fight and take it from there.
Yeah, so these are two girls who are multiple time champions in Euros and Worlds, so two high level competitors. We see that in the female game, Adrian, from so far from the stats we've been looking at, that the front leg lift is a massive, massive factor. And we see here right off the bat that there's a battle going on to get that leg on top. And that's what the aim is. You must get your leg on top. If your leg is on the bottom, it's trapped. There's a potential of maybe a hook kick, but it's very, very rare it comes off. But we see right off the bat, Kira is trying to lift with shorter, lighter steps. With that shorter stance as well, she has a bit more balance to lift better. And we can see then she uses that clash well to come over the top. And I think for me, it's because she has that shorter stance and able to gain balance a little quicker.
Yeah, I mean, Tyra's advantage tends to be that when she gets that little short step in that she takes, she can get a lot of forward pressure, which is something we more commonly see in the male side of things, but she can put an awful lot of forward pressure. Here, Kira has managed to judge that step, got her leg directly up because she's not trying to carry forward and was over the top, and from there was able to take it directly into a head kick. So we can see here, just got on top because of the step. She has the advantage of lifting first, and she's able to use Tyra's lift almost to bounce her leg over the top and clip the
Yeah.
headshot there. But talking about Tyra's advantage, she tends to stay a little bit taller. She's so flexible. She tends to stay a little bit taller and puts forward pressure behind that front leg very often.
Yeah, that's it. And you want what you ideally want here is you want to be first, but if you're not first, then you're going to be able to clash in different ways. And this is just a variation of a clash as well with the hook kick. It doesn't get a score, but it stops your opponent from being successful in what they're doing. So at the very, very least, what you want to be is a pain in the ass for the other person.
Yeah.
So that's what you want to do. And if you can, then you can get your own shots in there as well. But the idea here as well is that if you're being sucked into a battle with the front leg, which is uncomfortable for you in terms of distance, you might get sucked in and get punished with hands. But two of these girls are really, really clever and they're very crafty. So that's not really happening too often here. They're both managing the distance really well. It's
Mm.
really just coming down to that battle of the front leg mostly.
I quite like this particular one where Tyra just kicks the leg out of the way as such, or just aims to get to the hip from the outside. It doesn't quite transpire into, into a good scoring position for hands, but the principle is quite good where she has, we go one more time, she has gotten her front foot just outside of Kira's, almost like the turning kick across, and that leaves her in a position where potentially she could get Kira off balance and chase the hands. Kira does recover with a backward step, concedes the warning. Okay, but conceding the warning, of course, in this case is definitely better than conceding some scores. But good variation from Tyra there to find another way to try to break down that front leg. So taking it more like a turning kick than a side kick and not clashing in the same line.
Yeah, one of the biggest factors that you need to be aware of if you're going to be dominating this front leg battle is that you need to know when you're going for it and when you need to know when to bail. And particularly in this fight, Kara is actually really, really good at making those decisions. She knows when it's her time to use the leg and to clash and take
Yeah.
advantage. And she knows when it's her time to get out of there and get out of dodge, essentially, before she gets clipped with anything silly. And when you have that lead, the decisions there that come down to that are very important as well, especially in
Yeah.
team. You need those flags. So obviously that's a big factor as well in the context of the overall fight.
Yeah, you get to a point where if you have a significant lead, it's not worth the additional risk of pushing that lead in that team spar. You know the score that you were sent in there to get in terms of the number of flags, and it's often better to protect that rather than take additional risks that might, it might make the match more exciting, might give you a bigger win. But when you don't have a second round to go into, there's no point in necessarily pushing the margin too far. It's enough to create a safe margin across the round. I think Kira was most concerned with getting caught back with a headshot of her own. So it was, I think, in that you can see where Tyra is going for it, and Kira is giving excessive distance sometimes after she's got those first two scores, just to keep herself a little bit safe, even if it meant conceding a warning.
Yeah. So just to summarize on this, the front leg battle, a couple of things to be aware of. You need to know when to go for it. You need to know when to bail. Ideally, if you have that balance underneath you because of that stance, that's going to be a big benefit as well. And also, you need to know when it's the opportunity for you to be able to switch to the hands if possible. And on the flip side, if your opponent can get to the hands as well. Any other details that we need to be aware of, Adrian?
No, I just think that idea that we mentioned with Tyra as well, where if you know that your advantage is that you can push forward, you can carry fast, probably because A, you're quite flexible, and B, you've got a good knee drive in the beginning. Even if it was like with that short step that we will almost always get away with that Tyra uses there as well. That forward pressure means if you are over the top in the first instance, your opponent hasn't made an angle, it makes it so dangerous and so effective. But we saw from both girls massive variation trying to go on both sides of the leg to clash, coming up under sometimes, but very often reaching around with a hook kick or reaching on the other side with the turning kick to try to bring the leg down in their favor and be the first person again after that.
Yeah, so there it is. You get that leg on top, lift it first, and if not, find other ways to clash and disrupt your opponent so they can't be successful. And that is the keys to the front leg battle. So we see you in the next one.
Bye now.